Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. So we have the working visit of a strong delegation from the World Bank. The launch ceremony of the Accelerate immunization strategy. For the international scene, agenda combating climate change and coronavirus pandemic in UN General Assembly. Welcome to our newsroom. The Minister of Defense, Hassan Omar Mohamed, received this morning the French Ambassador, Mr. Arnaud Guillois. During this meeting, the Minister welcomed his guest. The two authorities then discussed in a friendly manner global issues such as the prospect of bilateral cooperation. During this meeting, the French ambassador reviewed with the Minister of Defense several issues of common interest, including bilateral relations between the Republic of Djibouti and France. In this regard, the two men welcomed the ties of friendship and cooperation solid and historic, uniting the two countries, reiterating their determination to work to consolidate and expand them further. After his meeting with the French ambassador, this time the Minister of Defense, Hassan Omar, received the Japanese ambassador, Otsuka Umio. The meeting focused on bilateral cooperation relations, especially in the field of defense. The Minister of Defense thanked the ambassador for his visit and his efforts on the ground to strengthen friendly relations with the Republic of Djibouti. The Minister of Defense especially welcomed the openness and willingness of the new ambassador to work for the strengthening of cooperation and exchanges between the two countries. The meeting focused on bilateral cooperation relations, especially in the field of defense. Indeed, the military and security cooperation has fueled the discussions between the two personalities. It was thus a question of Japanese contributions to the process of capacity building of the Djiboutian armed forces. The Minister of Economy and Finance received early this morning in his office an important delegation of the World Bank headed by the Regional Director Marina Weiss, accompanied by Mr. Stefan Kerbeli, Director of Strategy and Operations for the MENA region, and Mr. Nadir Mohammed, Director in charge of the Department of Equitable Growth, Finance and Institution, Mr. Robert Boujaoud, Deputy Regional Director, and Mr. Rick Emery Souk, Senior Economist in charge of Djibouti. This mission is part of the regular consultations of the World Bank with the Djibouti authorities on the development programs of the country. More specifically, this mission aims to discuss the new partnership framework of the World Bank Group, as well as the implementation of the Sustainable Development Financing Policy framework under the International Development Association IDA window. It was a question of strengthening the partnership between the Republic of Djibouti and the World Bank. In the second part, this extended meeting with the economic sectors brought together the Minister Delegate of Digital Economy, Mariam Hamadou, the Secretary of State in charge of investment and private sector development, Mrs. Safiya Mohamed Ali Gadile, with always the Finance Minister Ilyas Musa Dawale in the lead for the Djiboutian side, and Marina Weiss for the World Bank delegations. The regional director of the World Bank, Ms. Marina Weiss, in her word, underlined the high importance of this meeting.
To be back here as my first mission during the pandemic. I wish I could say after the pandemic, but I think it's still during the pandemic. And also really pleased that my colleagues Stefan and Nadir are here with me to see at this critical juncture what more can we do to support Djibouti in all its efforts. I also want to congratulate you, Your Excellency, and Your Excellencies around the table, because this is also my first mission or my first visit after your government reshuffle. So congratulations to the colleagues in their new positions, and really look forward to building a partnership over the coming months to see what more we can do together. I know Djibouti takes gender balance very seriously, and it's great also.
For her part, the Minister Delegate of Digital Economy and Innovation, Ms. Mariam Hamadou, presented the priority of the digital economy. The strategy, inclusion, connectivity, and institutions are bound to play a decisive role in the socio-economic development of Djibouti. She emphasized it further. She said that this is essential to the success of the country's national strategy Vision Djibouti 2035. As for the Secretary of State in charge of investment and private sector development, Ms. Safiya Mohammed Ali Kadile, stressed the importance that the private sector plays in the national economy and the ways and means that her ministry has set to make it a sector of economic growth. The Minister of Economy and Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawale, said that he welcomed the World Bank team, and IMD said that Djibouti intends to make its private sector a pole of growth. Other information from this newspaper, a novelty in terms of taxation, and it is a first in Djibouti. For more than a year, the tax administration has modernized it and equipped itself with the new technological means to improve state revenue, particularly with regard to VAT, and this is in accordance with the will of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh. It is an ambitious program that consists of the deployment of tax box in companies subject to VAT. The electronic box is connected to each cash register at the sale points and allows the transfer of invoice data instantly to the General Tax Department. Within the General Directors of Taxes, VAT manager have been trained to collect this data and to intervene in case of suspicious of fraud, since it is a tool of decisions against tax fraud. To an expert, to the Secretary General of the Ministry of Budget, acting Ahmed Hassan Moyale, on this novelty in taxation in Djibouti. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Rabil Abdullah, presided yesterday over a launching ceremony of the strategy of acceleration of vaccination against COVID-19 in the presence of the Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity, Ms. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, the Minister of Women and Family, Muna Osman Aden, and the Mayor of Djibouti, Fatma Awad Osman. This launching ceremony was attended by ambassadors of friendly countries such as the Japanese ambassador, Mr. Otsuka Umio, the French ambassador Arnaud Gillois, and United States ambassador Mr. Jonathan Pratt. But all the representatives of the United Nations system, like the UNDP representative, Ms. Fatima Elchek, the representative of the International Organization for Migration, Stephanie Devio, and the representative of the World Health Organization, Dr. Rene van der Wert, the representative of the UNICEF, Ms. Melva Johnson, the representative of the UNFPA, Aisha Ibrahim, and several representatives of the national, regional, and international organizations. A colorful ceremony that brought together all the partners accompanying the Ministries of Health in its quest for the collective immunity through this new accelerated strategy of the anti-COVID vaccinations. It should also be noted that the Ministry of Health has mobilized more than 1,000 community actors who will be heavily involved in this vast vaccination campaign against COVID-19. The ambassador of France and Japan and US reaffirmed their support for the efforts of the Department of Health in the fight against this pandemic of COVID-19. For her part, the Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity, Ulufa Ismail Abdo, stressed the need to raise awareness among the Djiboutian population on the benefit of vaccinations against COVID-19. In her speech, the Minister of Women and Family, Muna Osman Aden, expressed her full commitment and that of her department to ensure the full success of this accelerated vaccination campaign. Finally, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Robli Abdillah, praised the commitment of the national and international partners who constantly accompany the efforts of his ministries against this pandemic, as well as the national mobilization carried to the highest level by the President of the Republic and the head of government, Ismail Omar Guelleh. The Minister of Health will also have mobile vaccination clinics COVID-19 that will travel to all neighborhoods of the capital, but also in the interior regions to vaccinate as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. On the sidelines of the ceremony, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Robli Abdillah, launched the activity of mobile clinic for vaccination against COVID-19, which will be responsible for crisscrossing the districts of the capital to provide vaccines as close as possible to the population in collaboration with the communal authorities and with the support of its technical partners. The Minister of Health will deploy these mobile vaccination clinics by a means of a schedule of passage in all the districts of the city of Djibouti in order to bring closer the access to the vaccines to all the persons of more than 18 years. This strategy of proximity vaccinations will also concern the regions of interior through the installations of the unit of immunization in order to extend to the maximum the vaccinal coverage on all the area of our territory. As part of the preparations for the 7th edition of the International Trade Fair for African Textile, the Commissioner General of CITA, Mr. Abdoulaye Mose, present on the Djiboutian soil, had a working session with the Djiboutian Minister of Trade and Tourism, Mr. Mohamed Warsamadiriye, and his colleague of Youth and Culture, Dr. Rahibo Mumin Assowe. The meeting was attended by resources persons from both departments of the Djiboutian Executive. The exchanges focused on the studies of preparation for the 7th edition of the International Exhibition of African Textile to be held from 28 to 13 October 2021 in Djibouti. As of September 18, 28 countries have registered and confirmed their participation in the 7th editions of CITA. That what rejoiced the Djibouti authorities, who have reiterated their willingness to accompany this event that promote African textile. Appointment is taken from 28 to 13 October 2021 in Djibouti. For her part, the Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibo Mumin Assowe, has indicated for her part that what rejoice the Djibouti authorities, who have just reiterated their willingness to accompany this event that promote African textile. For his part, the Minister of Trade and Tourism, Mohamed Warsamadiriye, has evoked in his speech the promotions of African textile, what rejoiced the Djibouti authorities, who have reiterated their willingness to accompany this event that promote African textile. The Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibo Mumin Assowe, received this morning in her living room the Commissioner General of the International African Textile Exhibition, Abdoulaye Moses, accompanied by Mr. Ron Osman Omar, Senior Policy Advisors on Industry and African Union. Recall that the delegation arrived in Djibouti for some time to see the progress of the preparation for the 7th editions of the CITA that our countries will have to the honor to host from 28 to 30 October 2021. It will therefore be a question of training in e-commerce and weaving, parade of traditional and industrial African dress, exhibition sale, international conferences, public fashion show, and commissioner said she was confident that the preparations were going well and gave a number of advices for the success of the event. As for the minister, she did not fail to emphasize the importance for our countries to host a cultural event of such magnitude that will allow the promotions of handicraft made in Djibouti in general and fabric in particular. The meeting ended with an exchanges and gifts between the minister and his guests. The minister delegate in charges of decentralization, His Excellency Qasim Harun Ali, accompanied by his communication officer, Osman Musa, received this morning in his office the resident representative of the United Nations Program, Ms. Fatima El Sheikh, accompanied by the deputy resident representative of UNDP, Mr. Gaël Olivier. This is the second visit of the UNDP representative after the courtesy visit. This is a working visit to strengthen the partnership link already existing between the Ministry of Decentralization and UNDP. It is in this context that the UNDP representative, Ms. Fatima El Sheikh, thanked the Minister for the honors reserved and friendly welcome before addressing the objective of the visit. Indeed, 6 weeks before the end of this mission in Djibouti, the UNDP representative Fatima El Sheikh discussed progress in common, including the mapping of the project, support to transparency and admissibility of civic engagement in the future project, single windows, and the Minister of Decentralization, Qasim Harun Ali, gave an update on the privileged partnership between his department and UNDP. The two parties discussed at length the development of the government of Djibouti implementing the policy outlined by the President of the Republic. For the international scene, the world leaders returned to the United Nations headquarters in New York this week for a general assembly whose primary concern will be the fight against climate change and coronavirus pandemic, which last year forced the UN meeting into virtual mode. While the health crisis is still raging and the questions of the distribution of vaccines in the world is still being debated, about a third of 193 UN member countries have planned to transmit their statements by video. Once again, the head of state and government and foreign ministries of the other member countries are planning to come to New York despite U.S. efforts to dissuade them because of concerns about the spread of coronavirus. Biden plans to address the assembly in person in what will be his first visit to the United Nations since taking office in January. Because of the pandemic, delegation, the UN are limited in number, and most size event at the General Assembly will be virtual or a hybrid format. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.